All right.
Hello, Michael. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me about PMO and your successful career in the PMO space. So I saw from your profile that you have been doing great things for corporation, and also you come from the leadership, so you understand very well what leaders are looking for in a PMO leader, because you have been in a chief operating officer position, you have been CIO, you have been PMO director, so you have everything that any organization is looking for now, because we're looking for leaders to help us grow and prosper. So tell me a little bit about your experience, so how you have done and how you can tell other people what you need to do in order to be a leader for a PMO.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you for asking me to come speak with you today. Um, as I said when we connected on LinkedIn, I found your profile fascinating, and I really enjoy your approach to looking at the work we're doing and ways we can improve that as we continue to move forward. Um, Great question, by the way. The work I do in the PMOs, a lot of it is centered and based in the fact that I've worked in a number of PMOs prior to putting myself in a position to build them from the ground up and lead them. I've worked as a project manager for many years and managed programs and projects for organizations around the world. And in doing so, I was even in the early years, I was taking note about what I thought worked, what didn't work, and I was always fascinated by the PMI, pulse of the profession reports and how year after year the project success rates weren't really improving, even though all our methodologies were continuing to improve, and there were new ways to approach the work. So that's really where the journey began for me, and I started looking at ways that PMOs could, number one, be viewed as part of the organization, because certainly as I started, and even in some organizations today, the PMO is considered either part of IT or not part of that strategic and body that leads the corporation. And that's a big oversight. And I think many companies and many organizations around the world are starting to see that it's imperative for them to involve the PMO leadership from the beginning and involve them in the strategic planning for the company and really guiding them, so that as that work comes, the PMO isn't reacting to it. They are aligned with the strategic vision. They understand where the company is going and can help people get there. And really that's been the crux of my work also, is helping people to understand and change the way the PMOs are viewed, and also the value proposition attached to them. And by doing so, it's allowed me to continually deliver the type of results that leadership is looking for, and has put me in a position to start to build PMOs from the ground up and operate them, and also now work for consulting companies. And the role I'm in now with North Highland, I have the opportunity to help design multi-year IM strategies for government agencies. And a big part of the focus in designing those plans for me is standing up the PMOs and helping those organizations with data governance and extending their data management capabilities. So it's really a comprehensive journey, and my effectiveness as a PMO leader really stems from having been on the other side of that coin, and also from having the opportunity to own my own business. And I started a corporation from the ground up, operated it successfully through ROI before selling my stake in it. And owning a company and being involved with a company as an owner really helped me to understand the other side of that stakeholder coin and understand total cost of ownership. And so now when I'm in that position as the PM or a PMO leader speaking leadership, it really helps me put myself in their shoes and understand the things that are important to them, what they're looking for, and how I can best communicate what I'm doing to them.
Yeah, thank you very much, Michael. So you have been like brilliant careers and PMO, talking to the leaders. So one question, because so you mentioned, and I had the same questions over and over, because PMI was established in 1969. So we have been
Yes.
looking the practices of project management, and PMI, they have done great job in delivering an approach so organization can adopt them and be successful.
Right.
However, we have a lot of organizations struggling in delivering on time, on budget, according to the scope. So why do you think that happened? And why do you think the PMO is a good thing for companies to adopt it?
Again, a great question, and really that's kind of the $1 million question, right? Is if we're aware of
Mm,
all these things and we're constantly working to improve them, how come we haven't been able to provide a definitive solution to that? And I think part of that has to do with the ever-changing complex landscape in which business is conducted today, not just with the technologies which are increasing the speed of business, also increasing what we're able to accomplish, both from a collaborative nature, from an AI perspective, and just from productivity across the board. So in such a dynamic and changing landscape, it's difficult to keep up with that. And again, I
mm,
think a big part of the issue and a big part of that challenge has been that historically many organizations haven't viewed PMO or haven't viewed their delivery entities as part of the leadership unit and the strategic leadership for the organization. And because of that, it's created a divide where it's put PMO leaders and PMs in almost reactionary mode instead of
mm,
being able to be proactive and not just be proactive and understand what's coming down the pike and prepare for it, but also help make and inform those decisions. Because when you think about it, the PMO, through virtue of resource management, all the data that we collect on the projects and report the status of, we have such a wealth of information to share and inform the organization with, to help direct the strategic vision, to help the company and leadership adjust course as we move into the future. And I think that's part of the challenge there too, is companies up until recently, I don't think have really employed that wealth of information the PM puts back into the
mm.
company and made it actionable in an effective manner. And we're seeing more of that today, and that's a big part of what I try to bring to organizations as well.
Yeah, that's a great thing. You are right. So there's a lot of things to do, but I see it more from the leadership standpoint, because at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
the project management as a discipline hasn't changed a lot. So now we are
Right.
merging the hybrid, the agile, the predictive, but still it's job that you need to do. But one of the
Right.
things that I consider that a lot of leaders in organization, they don't understand. So I have some people, they are not in the business, but they say, is PMO and PMP the same thing? Yeah, no.
Right.
So there's a lot of
So let
confusions
me
about the values of PMO. For that reason, they don't support it.
right.
And the worst thing
Let me
that
ask
happen
you. So
is, yeah, go ahead.
how do you help change their view of that? How do you help educate leaders then? What's the value proposition that you present to leadership for your PMOs?
Yeah, so one thing is that happened one day. So I needed to talk to a business owner, a great, very big engineering company. So
Mm-hmm.
they were bleeding. So one of the things that I tell my people when I train them, so in the workshop that I do, so if you have a patient and go to the ER, the first thing that you need to do is stop the bleeding. Otherwise,
Yeah,
the patient gonna die. Stop the bleeding
that's right.
first,
That's
and then
right.
we talk. So I had one conversation not too long ago with the two owners of that huge engineering company. So a friend of mine that he trying to sell the services of PMO and project management. So he couldn't do it for 6 months trying to connect with them. So I really said, give me just 5 minutes to see if I can say something. So I had one idea. Let me see how these people connect with something that they are familiar with. So I took all the
Right.
project from the website, put in the PowerPoint, just a couple of images, of the project they work. So I presented, that was my starting. So are you familiar with these projects? And they say, they smile and they say, yes. So, but you missed the most important project we have done. So when he said that, the owner, so he said that, so I said, we are connected now because he was smiling. So Mr. X, so I'm gonna tell you that a PMO is a air control tower in a busy airport.
Right.
So I just said that, and that gentleman, he said, I got it. So we need a PMO. So
It's a great
most of the thing
analogy.
is, yeah, it's the connection. So if they don't see it because they think that the project manager, they don't need someone to tell them what to do. And the
Right.
problem with the PMO, or the original PMO, is basically a controlling mechanism. Not like
Right.
a PMI, they have three type of PMO. The support is controlling and directive. So
Mm-hmm.
few organizations, they didn't have the chance to have a directive PMO. So what they think, you adding cost, so you are overhead. So we don't need that. So
Right.
everything that look like overhead, the organization and leaders, they gonna cut it.
Of course.
so
Absolutely.
so I'm gonna ask you a question. Yeah, one of the things that I preach, the PMO is a profit center. It's
Yes.
a department is indispensable for the organization operation. So how do you say that to a business leader that this organization, this department is a profit center? How do you say
That
that thing?
I love that. I love that you brought that up because that's part of that whole change and part of really getting leadership to view PMOs in a new light that we were talking about at the beginning of the conversation. Not always an easy thing to do. Oftentimes, it's difficult to do an ROI workup on a PMO and show in dollar
Mhm.
and cents the return that the organization is going to get on that. What One of the ways that I help show that is I look at past initiatives, past projects, look at the
Mhm.
overruns on them, and understand based on the run rate, based on the delays and the impact to the organization, what it costs them. And then I can help start to quantify what those delays and overruns look like. And I can help start to get leadership to understand that by having a PMO in place and being able to prevent delays and overruns and
Mhm.
things of that nature, we are going to, just by virtue of that, be saving money. And then I help them understand the opportunity cost that's being missed as well, because when you are constantly going over your deadlines, and especially if you have a pipeline of initiatives that you're working on, you run late with one initiative, then that delays the start of your next initiative. It messes up
Mhm.
your resource management. So there are a lot of interconnected parts that get impacted just by one or two initiatives going over their planned delivery dates. So I help
So,
leaders start to understand those issues, and I help quantify what those overruns cost, and then put into meaningful terms for leadership and help them understand that. For example, if we could have saved the overruns, I went into an insurance company down on Wall Street, and I was brought in to help specifically get one project over the finish line that they had been struggling with. It was about 6 months behind schedule. And I was
mhm.
also brought in to help make their PMO more agile and et cetera. That specific initiative, one of the ways I helped them understand why we needed to put the changes in place for the PMO on the other side of the work I was doing for them was by showing them what the overruns, what the impacted, how they impacted the organization. We had
Mhm.
different teams that were waiting to get this tool in place for their workflow and enterprise content management. Because they
Mhm.
didn't have that in place, that delayed their ability to move forward on their initiatives that they had planned. In addition to that, it also clogged up the project pipeline because we had other initiatives starting and resources planned to go off and work on other initiatives as well. So it created quite a mess just from one project in the portfolio,
Mhm.
being held up for multiple months. So the real challenge here is putting your PMO's ROI in meaningful and understandable terms to leadership. And it changes from organization to organization and leader to leader. And that's why stakeholder engagement is such a big part of this, and developing a rapport with leadership and understanding leadership as well, what they value, what's important to them, what their pain points are, so that when I communicate how a PMO can help the organization, I can put it in terms that are meaningful to them and are going to have an impact on their world.
Yeah, that's perfect. I'm having a couple of conferences, so I'm gonna speak in a cruise in April. So
Nice.
taking the cruise from Houston to Cozumel, Mexico.
Very
So
nice.
yeah, I don't know if you are familiar with Lee Lambert.
Oh yeah.
A couple of very popular guys that they're gonna be in the cruise. So the topic is project management, past and future. So my topic is
Nice.
the next generation of PMO. So what do you think will be the next generation of PMO?
I love this question. There is so much going on in the world that could impact that and change that. So when I think about, I try to be careful and keep my answers realistic. Now, the new generation of PMO in my mind is a PMO that has a seat at the table, at the leadership table. And I'm not, and either through virtue of a C-level executive or someone who has the impact and influence in the organization and carries weight with them, so that they can be involved in the planning, involved in the budget process, and involved in the strategic planning for the organization. And in doing so, it not only allows the PMO to understand what's coming down the pike and the direction the organization's headed in, it also helps the PMO start to proactively plan for what's coming, to shift and level resources in a way that anticipate potential bottlenecks and mitigate those challenges. So there are a lot of things that come from that very alignment of having a stake in leadership and having that leader communicate effectively through the PMO. And also, I have found that other crucial relationships, and not just in IT PMOs, but the other departments that the PMO works with. If it's an IT PMO, your architects, developers, analysts, database staff, etc. It's a team effort, and everyone needs to work together. So the next gen PMO is really going to embrace that bigger team effort, and be able to help leadership embrace that as well. And also keep an eye looking forward to start to use technologies like AI, deep learning, machine learning, especially with things like lessons learned. And on some of the data projects I'm doing, there are so many places where we could start to apply those types of technologies and have them help us be more effective at our jobs. And I think that's one area that we're really going to see a lot of movement in the next 1 to 3 years, especially. But more importantly, I think it's going to be about the PMO really being that single source of truth that has really powerful data for the organization pertaining to resource management, and also the status of the initiatives, where people's time and work is focused, what that work is producing, and also if the return on the investment for the work and the investment we're making now with the projects is actually going to return what we expect it to. And that's a big part of what's been missing previously too, I believe. And that's partly because PMOs have been one of the first things, as you said, that leaderships look to cut when times get hard and money gets tight, and because in their mind it's a cost center. And that's another big thing that's going to change.
Yeah, and that's a big challenge to change that mindset. So you read my mind. So I'm researching and you're thinking about what will be the next generation of PMO. So you mentioned a couple of the topics that I'm gonna read it for you. So I have 5 items that next generation PMO should have. The first one is embracing agile methodologies. So we need to deliver faster. And
Right,
not only because a lot of people say about agile delivering faster, but it's delivering faster the right thing.
right,
It's not just delivering fast, it's delivering faster the right thing. So
right.
the second topic, and you also talk about that, leveraging in technology. So the PMO leaders, you need to be always looking, seeking for what is out there that can help us to be better, to be more
Right.
agile, embracing technology. So now we are talking about artificial intelligence. So how are we going to leverage in artificial intelligence so we can apply and we be better? So that's one of the things. What about focusing on business outcomes? That's the
Yes.
PMO or next generation PMO. So you need to focus on business outcomes. So you are a business person. Another topic is building a culture of innovation. That's
Love that.
important. Yeah, so it's like continuous improvement. You never stop. And
Right.
the last, and you mentioned about that, you mentioned something that is very important. It's about leadership. It's about empowering teams. So embrace those disciplines that are out there. How design thinking gonna help you team to create a high performance team in your organization. So
Right.
those five areas. So there's a lot of other things that you can do, but if you focus on those five areas, so you're gonna be building a next generation PMO. That I said, the student that participate on my courses is that I want for you that the C-suite loves you. So anytime that they have an idea, so if you are out of the conversation, so I tell them, so start looking for another job. So you measure, your KPI will be every time there is an important conversation in the senior leadership of your organization, and they call you, they call the PMO to be in the same table with them to
Yeah.
discuss the future, to discuss the present,
Right.
to discuss what's going on today. If you are not there, start looking for another job.
Yep. Yes. Exactly.
So,
And I love that you mentioned building that culture of innovation, and I think that's a big part of it too. And I think part of that also is a change that we're seeing where for years PMs used to do lessons learned at the end of their projects and things like that, but more and more myself, the PMs that I'm working with, and people that I'm talking to, other thought leaders in the industry, you're seeing this be a continual lesson learned, a continuing improvement, right? And that's a
exactly.
big part of the change and innovation that you're speaking about, and we're seeing. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very nice.
So I don't know, Michael, if you have any particular question for me. So I enjoyed talking to you. So you are a great person, great leader. So I could see in those minutes that I'm talking to you, so you are very energized and passionate about what you do. So that's an important thing. If you don't have passion for
Yes.
what you do, don't do it. Look for something
Right.
else that make you happy.
and,
So if
and
you
and
don't,
that's it right there. I think, and the smile on your face tells the whole story, right? You do something
exactly,
in a field you're passionate about, and the happiness comes from that, and that
it's
shines through in you. And I can tell just from our conversations, we're very like-minded in a number of things, and
mm,
even when we first connected, I could tell that right away. And I've definitely enjoyed my time with you today, and enjoyed talking about the future of PMOs and what the next gen PMO looks like.
yeah, me too. So let's do it again. So I enjoyed it.
Yes.
So that's my organization does. So we connect with leaders in PMO and also organizational leaders to help them to see the new worlds, to see how they
Right.
can be better, how they can
Yes.
raise the bar in the organization without jeopardizing the job of other people. Some people say, so you telling me that the PMO, if they are in charge of all what you telling me, so I'm gonna be the CEO of the company. Well, that's exactly the idea. So
Right.
your aspiration should be to be the CEO of that organization.
Right.
But also you need to know how to play politics. So you don't wanna kill that you know more than the CFO, that you know more than HR people. So it's a team, and you mentioned that everybody needs to work together as a single team to help the
Right.
organization that you're working on. The success is your success.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
uh,
Exactly.
but it was a great pleasure to meet you. So as you mentioned, so I don't know, maybe because you are from New York, so my family are from New York, so I enjoy every time. I
There
live
you
in
go.
Florida, Orlando, so I
Nice.
enjoy the my time when I visit my family. So most of them they live over there in New Jersey and New York.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
well, so it was a pleasure. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me and share your knowledge and your experience and also your passion.
Thank you. And
Thank
and
you.
thank you so much for having me today and for a very enjoyable conversation and a lot of food for thought. I look forward to speaking with you again in the near future.
Yeah, thank you.